Have you ever wondered why your legs seem weaker than they used to be, even though you're eating plenty of fruit every day? It's a quiet, surprising truth that many seniors don't realize. Some of the fruits you love might be working against your leg strength. I know how frustrating it feels. I've been there myself, thinking I was doing all the right things for my health, only to find my balance slipping and my legs not keeping up anymore. It's easy to laugh it off or blame aging, but what if the answer lies in your fruit bowl? The good news is, there's a simple and gentle way to protect your legs without giving up the sweet flavors you enjoy. This isn't about drastic diets or complicated routines. It's about smart choices that anyone can make, even with a busy life. In this video, I'll share the 7 fruits that could be silently weakening your legs after 60, and more importantly, what you can do to keep your muscles strong and steady. Stick around because some of these tips might surprise you, and they can make a real difference in how you move and feel every day. After all, you deserve to live with confidence and freedom, no matter your age. So tell me, which fruit do you eat the most right now? Let's discover together how to make your fruit choices work for you, not against you. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. Now, let's begin. 1. Watermelon. Let's start with a fruit that almost everyone loves, especially as the days get longer and the air turns warm. Watermelon. What could be wrong with something so refreshing, sweet, and iconic at every summer picnic? I can still remember those lazy July afternoons in my backyard, a slice of watermelon in hand, juice dripping down my chin as the grandkids played in the sprinkler. It seemed innocent, even virtuous. After all, it's mostly water, low in calories, and naturally sweet. How could that hurt? But as the years passed, I began to notice something strange. My legs didn't bounce back from walks the way they used to. I'd wake up after a restless night and feel that familiar heaviness in my calves, or a vague soreness in my thighs that I used to associate with hiking, not just living. I brushed it off as another sign of aging, the kind you joke about with friends or grumble about at the doctor's office. But deep down, I wondered, was I missing something? One morning, while reading a health article, I stumbled across a sentence that gave me pause. Fruits with a high glycemic index, like watermelon, can spike blood sugar rapidly, especially in older adults. I had always thought of watermelon as harmless, but suddenly I began to see the whole picture. The glycemic index of watermelon is shockingly high, about 80. That means it can cause your blood sugar to rise even faster than a slice of white bread. For a younger person with a robust metabolism, that spike comes and goes. But for seniors, especially those who may have some degree of insulin resistance, the effects linger. I started to dig deeper. Why would a fruit that's 92% water and so light on calories be an issue? Well, it turns out that the very thing that makes watermelon such a thirst quencher, its high water content, also means it doesn't have much else to slow down that sugar hit. There's little fiber, almost no protein, and a real lack of muscle protective nutrients like magnesium and calcium. And the sugar in watermelon isn't just glucose. It's packed with fructose, which is metabolized in the liver. As we get older, the liver doesn't handle fructose as efficiently, especially if you're like me and have a history of fatty liver or prediabetes. I remembered all those times I reached for watermelon as a healthy snack, especially after a walk or when my energy felt low. Sometimes I'd have a generous bowl all by itself, thinking I was making the smart choice. But each time, not long afterward, I'd feel that familiar crash. Legs heavy, mind foggy, and a strange sense of fatigue washing over me. I started to connect the dots. Maybe my innocent watermelon habit was more of a culprit than I'd realized. The science backs this up. In a study of over 1,000 older adults, researchers found that a high intake of fructose-heavy, low-nutrient density fruits like watermelon was directly associated with slower walking speed and reduced grip strength. The reasoning was clear. Those rapid sugar spikes force the body to pump out extra insulin, which not only throws off our energy but can lead to muscle breakdown over time. The muscles in our legs, already fighting an uphill battle against natural age-related loss, end up deprived of the steady energy and nutrients they need. I remember chatting with a friend at the community center, both of us bemoaning our stubborn legs. When I shared what I'd learned about watermelon, she was genuinely surprised. "But it's fruit. Isn't that supposed to be good for us?" That's the tricky part. Years of diet advice have told us to eat more fruit, but rarely have we been told to pay attention to which fruits, or how they affect us as we age. Watermelon, with its beautiful color and sweet flavor, just doesn't seem like it belongs in the same category as, say, a donut or a sugary soda. But for our aging bodies, the impact can be similar, especially when we eat it by itself, without anything to slow down the sugar rush. So, what can you do if you love watermelon as much as I do? Thankfully, you don't have to banish it from your life forever. Moderation is the key. A small cube or two on a hot afternoon can still be a treat, especially if you pair it with something that helps buffer the sugar, like a handful of almonds, a few walnuts, or a scoop of Greek yogurt. The healthy fats and proteins slow down digestion, making that sugar less likely to hit your bloodstream all at once. And never eat watermelon on an empty stomach, especially first thing in the morning or right after exercise, when your body is especially sensitive to sugar. I also found that swapping in other fruits with more fiber and nutrients, like blueberries, apples with a skin, or even a wedge of orange, helped me feel more energized and less prone to those mysterious aches and pains in my legs. My walks became easier again, my recovery quicker, and I stopped dreading that lead weight feeling in my calves and thighs. Looking back, it's easy to wish someone had told me sooner about the double-edged sword that is watermelon. But now I feel empowered, because I know I can enjoy my favorite summer treat and still protect my leg strength for all the things I love, whether it's chasing after grandkids, tending the garden, or simply going for a stroll in the evening sun. It's about making small, smart changes. Not giving up what you love, but finding a way to make it love you back. So next time you see that bright red slice calling your name, remember, your legs are counting on you to make the choice that keeps them strong. And with just a little bit of awareness, you can keep moving forward with confidence, one step at a time. 2. Fruit juices, including 100% natural juices. If you're anything like me, you probably grew up believing that a glass of orange juice in the morning was the very picture of a healthy lifestyle. Even today, the television ads still show smiling families, the sun just rising, pouring tall glasses of 100% fruit juice as the secret to starting the day right. Maybe you still have a carton of juice in your fridge, or you like to treat yourself to a glass with breakfast, convinced you're making a smart, natural choice. After all, it says, "No sugar added," right there on the label. What could be safer? But let me share something I learned the hard way. For seniors, fruit juice is often more foe than friend when it comes to keeping your legs strong and steady. I didn't want to believe it either at first. I was the kind of person who would blend my smoothies, buy the organic juices at the store, and always thought juicing was the answer to every nutritional need. I'd drink apple juice on hot days, a bit of grape juice with dinner, or even make my carrot orange concoctions. It felt like a harmless, even nurturing habit. And yet, despite all this healthy living, I noticed my energy dipping in strange ways. My legs felt more tired after errands. Getting up from a chair sometimes felt like climbing a small mountain. My balance was a bit more wobbly, and by afternoon, I'd hit a slump that no nap could fix. Still, it didn't occur to me that my juice habit could be to blame. After all, it's fruit, right? It took a conversation with my doctor to open my eyes. We were reviewing my latest blood work, nothing too alarming, but my fasting blood sugar was creeping up, and my legs had lost some muscle mass compared to my last checkup. She asked me gently about my eating habits. "How much fruit do you eat?" she asked. I started listing off my apples and berries, but she interrupted, "And how much juice?" That's when it clicked. Juicing fruit, I realized, is a bit like removing its most important safety feature. The fiber, the stuff that's left behind in the pulp, isn't just filler. It's a crucial barrier that slows down how sugar enters your bloodstream. When you eat a whole apple or orange, your body digests the sugar slowly, giving your muscles time to use the energy and keeping your insulin levels steady. But when you drink juice, even if it's cold-pressed or homemade, all that sugar races into your blood in minutes. Your body responds by flooding itself with insulin, which feels like a roller coaster, a fast burst of energy, followed by a hard crash. For younger people, this might not be such a big deal, but after 60, our bodies become less efficient at handling sugar. Our muscles are already fighting an uphill battle against age-related loss, known as sarcopenia. And insulin resistance, the body's reduced ability to use sugar effectively, becomes much more common. All of this means that sugar from juice doesn't do us any favors. Studies show that seniors who drink fruit juice regularly have higher blood sugar, faster muscle breakdown, and more inflammation in their legs. The muscles that keep us walking tall, our quadriceps, calves, and glutes, get weaker over time, sometimes without us even realizing why. I remember visiting my friend, Martha, one afternoon. She offered me a glass of her homemade orange juice, freshly squeezed, sweet as sunshine. "It's pure," she insisted, pouring us both a tall glass. We chatted about old times, but soon I noticed that familiar heaviness in my legs, a subtle ache that I had learned to associate with a sugar crash. Martha confided that she'd been feeling more tired lately too, and wondered if it was just age catching up. I looked at our empty glasses and wondered how many other seniors were struggling with the same invisible effects, all while thinking they were doing something good for their bodies. The trouble with juice isn't just its speed, it's also the portion. It takes 3 or 4 whole oranges to make a single glass of juice. No one sits down and eats that many oranges at once, but when it's liquid, it's easy to gulp down without thinking. What's more, your stomach's natural sensors don't register juice as full, so you end up drinking more sugar than you'd ever eat in whole fruit form. Even juices labeled 100% natural or no added sugar can cause harm, because the problem isn't extra sugar, it's the removal of fiber. Whether you're drinking store-bought brands or pressing your own at home, the effect is the same: a flood of sugar, a surge of insulin, and a body struggling to recover. The science is clear. Older adults who regularly drink fruit juice have a 22% greater risk of insulin resistance and a much faster rate of muscle loss in their legs compared to those who stick to whole fruit. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. So what's the solution? Thankfully, it's simpler than you might think. You don't need to give up the bright taste of fruit. Just swap your juice for the real thing. Reach for a fresh orange or an apple, and if you want a drink with a twist, try water with a splash of lemon, a few cucumber slices, or a handful of berries tossed in for flavor. When you do eat fruit, pair it with some healthy fats or protein, like a handful of nuts or a dollop of Greek yogurt, to slow down digestion and keep your blood sugar steady. Looking back, I wish I had known how juice was quietly working against my efforts to stay strong and independent. But now, with a little knowledge and a few simple swaps, my legs feel steadier, my energy lasts longer, and I can honestly say I'm giving my body what it needs to keep me moving forward. If you still love the ritual of a morning drink, make it a celebration of your health, a glass of water, a walk in the sunshine, and the satisfaction of knowing you're giving your legs their best chance. Remember, every step counts, and sometimes the sweetest change is the one that keeps you strong. 3. Canned fruit in syrup. Canned fruit in syrup. Just the name brings back memories of childhood lunches, family gatherings, and holiday desserts. There's something undeniably comforting about reaching for a can of peaches or pears, hearing that satisfying pop as you open the lid, and spooning out glistening slices onto your plate. For years, I thought I was making a better choice by eating fruit instead of reaching for candy or pie. After all, the labels always said things like packed in syrup or extra light, and in the rush of busy days, it was easy to think, it's still fruit, isn't it? It must be good for me. But over time, I began to notice subtle changes in how my body felt, especially in my legs. I'd wake up in the morning with more stiffness in my knees and ankles. My calves would cramp after short walks, and sometimes just getting up from the couch made my joints creak in protest. It felt like my legs were aging faster than the rest of me. I chalked it up to getting older, something inevitable, I thought. Yet a small voice in the back of my mind wondered, was there something I was missing? One rainy afternoon, as I was organizing my pantry, I noticed just how many cans of fruit I'd collected over the years. Peaches, pears, pineapple rings, all soaking in thick, syrupy liquid. I started reading the labels more carefully. High fructose corn syrup, sugar, water. Somewhere down the list, you'd finally see peaches or pears. It was an uncomfortable realization. Suddenly, the healthy snack I'd relied on so often felt less like a wholesome choice and more like a sugary trap. Digging deeper, I found research that startled me. Scientists had tracked seniors who ate canned fruit and syrup more than twice a week and found they had a nearly 40% higher risk of developing mobility problems, difficulty walking, rising from chairs, or keeping their balance. The reason, it turns out, goes beyond just extra calories. When fruit is packed in syrup, it's not only loaded with added sugars, but it's also stripped of its natural fiber and many essential vitamins through the heating and canning process. What you're left with is fruit swimming in a sugar bath, ready to send your blood sugar skyrocketing. For older adults, this is a real concern. Our bodies don't process sugar the way they used to, and the muscles that keep us steady, our quads, calves, and glutes, need a steady, gentle supply of nutrients, not a rush of fast energy followed by a crash. When you eat canned fruit in syrup, your body gets hit with a surge of glucose. Your insulin spikes, trying to manage all that sugar, but with age comes more insulin resistance, and the sugar ends up being stored as fat, particularly around your middle and even within your muscles. Over time, this process wears down the mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside your muscle cells, making it harder and harder for your legs to recover, rebuild, or stay strong. But there's another layer to the story. Collagen, the protein that acts as the scaffolding for our joints and connective tissue. The sugars in canned syrup speed up a process called glycation, where sugar molecules bind to collagen and make it stiff and brittle. This isn't just something you read about in medical journals. It's something you feel in your everyday life. The aches in your knees, the cracking in your hips, the slow, creeping loss of flexibility in your ankles. It all adds up. I started paying attention to how I felt after eating those syrupy treats. Sometimes, the sweetness would give me a quick burst of energy, but it never lasted. More often, I'd feel sluggish and a little unsteady, as if my legs were made of stone. My doctor gently pointed out that the fruit I was eating was mostly just sugar water, stripped of much of the nutrition that makes fresh fruit so good for us. She suggested reading the labels more closely and looking for options packed in juice or no added sugar. But even then, she reminded me, nothing beats fresh or frozen fruit, whole, with all the fiber and nutrients still inside. Changing habits isn't always easy, especially when they're tied to memories and comfort. I had to learn that the sweet syrup I loved so much was quietly eroding my strength, bite by bite. So I started making small changes. I swapped my canned peaches for fresh ones in the summer and frozen slices in the winter. I kept a bowl of apples and oranges on the counter, and I tried to reach for them when I wanted something sweet. It took a little while to retrain my taste buds, but gradually I found myself enjoying the natural sweetness of real fruit even more. Every so often, I still crave the nostalgia of a fruit cocktail, and when I do, I drain off the syrup, rinse the fruit, and pair it with some Greek yogurt or a handful of nuts. It's not the same as eating fresh, but it's a compromise that gives me peace of mind and helps keep my legs as strong as possible. Looking back, I wish I'd realized sooner how much those little choices mattered. If you're like me and have a pantry stocked with canned fruit and syrup, don't feel guilty. But do start reading the labels, making small swaps, and giving your legs the best chance to keep you moving with strength and confidence. After all, life is sweeter when you're able to walk, dance, and enjoy every step, without being weighed down by a hidden sugar trap. 4. Raisins. Raisins, those tiny, wrinkled gems, seem to have a permanent place in our kitchens. Maybe you sprinkle them into your oatmeal every morning, keep a box handy for the grandkids' lunchboxes, or toss a handful into homemade trail mix for a little sweetness on the go. There's a wholesome, almost old-fashioned feeling about raisins. I remember my mother insisting that a few raisins never hurt anyone. She always kept a jar tucked away in the pantry, ready to sweeten up a bowl of cereal or a batch of oatmeal cookies. For most of my life, I never questioned it. After all, raisins are just dried grapes, right? How could something so small, so naturally sweet, ever cause trouble? That's exactly what I used to think, until I started noticing some unwelcome changes in my own body and the friends around me. Subtle at first, legs feeling tired after a walk, knees complaining after a flight of stairs, a lingering soreness in my calves that seemed to show up out of nowhere. Like many of us, I chalked it up to aging, or maybe the weather, or just a bit of overdoing it in the garden. But as I read more about the hidden effects of what we eat, especially as we get older, I started to connect the dots. It turns out that, for seniors, raisins are a sneaky source of trouble, particularly when it comes to leg strength and balance. The first clue came from a friend of mine, Ellen, who's always been on top of the latest health research. One afternoon, as we chatted over coffee, she mentioned a study about how dried fruits, especially raisins, could send blood sugar soaring faster than we might think. I was skeptical at first, but the more I learned, the more it made sense. Raisins, for all their convenience and concentrated flavor, are essentially little packets of sugar, without the water or fiber you'd find in a whole grape to help slow things down. That means just a small handful can spike your blood sugar almost as quickly as a piece of candy. For those of us over 60, with metabolisms that aren't as quick as they used to be, this can set off a cascade of problems. Insulin surges, energy crashes, and, over time, damage to our muscles and nerves. There's also a chemical culprit at work, advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. It sounds like something out of a science textbook, but the idea is simple. When sugars in your food attach to proteins in your body, like collagen, they make those proteins stiff and brittle. In the context of our legs, this means tighter joints, reduced flexibility, and greater risk of inflammation in places like your knees, ankles, and hips. That ache you feel after a walk, or that stiffness getting out of bed. It may have more to do with your snack choices than you realize. As I dug deeper, I found that most store-bought raisins aren't just grapes and sunshine. They're often coated in vegetable oils or sulfites to help them last longer and look glossy on the shelf. These additives can irritate the digestive tract and even fuel chronic inflammation, especially for seniors with sensitive systems or autoimmune issues. I realized that something as innocent as adding raisins to my morning oatmeal could be making my legs feel heavier and more fatigued throughout the day. But here's the thing. I don't want to demonize raisins, and I certainly don't believe in swearing off all the foods we enjoy. Life is too short for that. What matters is awareness. Knowing the effect these little treats can have on our bodies, and making mindful choices that put our health and independence first. If you find yourself craving something sweet and chewy, try reaching for a crisp apple with a bit of almond butter or a handful of fresh blueberries. Both are packed with antioxidants and fiber, helping to slow sugar absorption and keep your energy steady. If raisins have been a staple in your diet, pay attention to how your body feels after you eat them. Notice if your legs feel more sluggish, if you have trouble keeping your balance, or if soreness lingers longer than it used to. Swapping raisins for other fruits wasn't easy for me at first. Old habits die hard, especially when they come with childhood memories. But over time, as I replaced raisins in my oatmeal with slices of pear or added a sprinkle of cinnamon for flavor, I noticed real changes. My legs didn't feel so tired at the end of the day. I found it easier to get up and move, and my walks became something I looked forward to again, instead of another chore to dread. If you still want to enjoy raisins, try to keep the portion small, and always pair them with a bit of healthy fat or protein. Maybe some walnuts or Greek yogurt, to help slow that sugar rush. And remember, what works for one person may not work for another. Listen to your body, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to make small changes in the name of your strength and independence. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. As we age, every choice adds up, sometimes in ways we can't see until we look back. I hope that by sharing what I've learned, you'll find it just a little bit easier to make the decisions that keep you moving, living, and enjoying all the sweetness life has to offer, just in a way that loves your legs right back. 5. Pineapple. Pineapple. Just the word brings a smile and a spark of summer to the mind. The golden flesh, the tropical scent, the sweet tart burst as you bite in. It's a fruit that has long symbolized celebration, hospitality, and even good health. Maybe you remember bringing home a fresh pineapple for a barbecue, or keeping a can or two on hand for those retro holiday salads. I certainly do. It was always the centerpiece of a fruit tray or a little extra treat to enjoy after Sunday dinner. For years, I believed that something so bright and juicy had to be good for me. But as I've grown older, I've learned that sometimes the foods we trust the most can surprise us. For those of us over 60, pineapple isn't quite the innocent delight it appears to be, especially when it comes to keeping our legs strong, steady, and pain-free. I discovered this not from a doctor, but from my own experience, and then from digging into what the latest science is showing about the way our bodies change with age. It started innocently enough. I'd have a bowl of pineapple chunks with my breakfast, or add some to a smoothie in the afternoon, especially on those muggy days when nothing else sounded good. The taste was always a pick-me-up, and I never gave it a second thought. But little by little, I noticed some subtle changes. My legs, which I'd always counted on for long walks and quick errands, began to feel a bit weaker. After a trip to the grocery store, I'd sometimes need to sit down and catch my breath. Getting out of a chair after reading or watching TV felt more like a chore than it should. At first, I brushed it off, just getting older, I'd tell myself. Nothing to be done about it. But the little voice in the back of my mind wouldn't quite settle. One day, at a community health talk, a nutritionist mentioned something that made my ears perk up. High fructose fruits like pineapple, especially when eaten often, can overwhelm the aging liver and increase inflammation, robbing your muscles of strength and slowing recovery. That single sentence sent me down a rabbit hole of curiosity. Pineapple, as it turns out, contains one of the highest amounts of fructose among common fruits. While that fructose makes pineapple taste so sweet, it also demands extra work from the liver. For younger people, the liver processes this sugar efficiently, turning it into energy for muscles and daily movement. But for seniors, especially those with any degree of fatty liver or prediabetes, the system isn't as efficient as it used to be. Instead of using the sugar right away, the liver starts converting it into fat, raising the risk of something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a condition that now affects a startling number of older adults. When the liver is working overtime and glucose isn't getting where it needs to go, it leads to a domino effect in the body. Higher insulin resistance, more inflammation, and less fuel for the muscles that keep us moving. The result? Muscles that recover more slowly after a walk, legs that tire more easily, and over time, a slow but steady loss of lower body strength. Studies have shown that seniors with diets high in fructose-rich fruits like pineapple have up to 2.5 times the risk of developing lower body frailty compared to those who eat fruits with more balanced sugar and fiber. What's more, pineapple has a glycemic index of nearly 60, much higher than berries or apples, which means it sends sugar rushing into your bloodstream faster than your body can handle. That roller coaster of rising and falling blood sugar isn't just exhausting. It takes a toll on your nerves and the blood vessels that feed your legs and feet. Over time, these swings can contribute to numbness, tingling, and that heavy leg feeling that so many seniors quietly endure. Of course, some people point to the enzyme bromelain in pineapple, often touted for its anti-inflammatory properties. And while bromelain can help some people, the research in older adults is mixed at best, especially when pineapple is eaten as canned fruit or juice, which is even higher in sugar and stripped of fiber. In the end, any small benefit is usually outweighed by the potential downside for those of us trying to stay strong, balanced, and steady on our feet. The lesson here isn't to banish pineapple from your life forever. For me, it meant rethinking how often and how much I enjoyed it. If you love tropical flavors, consider switching to papaya, which is lower in sugar and higher in fiber, offering anti-inflammatory benefits without as much risk to your leg muscles. And if you do reach for pineapple, have it in moderation, pair it with a little protein or healthy fat, and never eat it on an empty stomach. Most of all, it's about tuning in to your own body. After cutting back on pineapple and choosing lower sugar, higher fiber fruits, I noticed a quiet but powerful difference. My legs felt lighter. I was less fatigued after a day out. The stairs at home didn't look quite so daunting. It was a gentle reminder that sometimes the things we love need to be enjoyed wisely, with the knowledge that our bodies chong, and that's perfectly okay. So the next time you're tempted by a bowl of golden pineapple, remember, your legs are counting on you. Enjoy the sweetness in small doses, savor the memories, and choose what keeps you feeling strong and independent. After all, the real treat is the freedom to walk, explore, and live life on your terms, every single day. 6. Overripe mango. Mango, the so-called king of fruits, has a special place in many of our hearts. Its bright orange flesh, luscious sweetness, and tropical aroma can instantly transport you to sun-drenched days and happy memories of family gatherings. For many, mangoes are a cherished treat, a little slice of paradise to enjoy during the warmer months or a sweet reminder of faraway places. I've always loved slicing into a ripe mango, savoring each juicy bite, and feeling the warmth of summer wrapped around me. But as I've grown older, I've come to realize that not all mangoes are created equal, especially when it comes to protecting our leg strength and overall health after 60. It wasn't until recently that I learned about the hidden dangers of eating overripe mangoes too often. At first, I thought it was just a matter of enjoying the fruit at its sweetest, the softest, the most luscious. But there's a catch. As mangoes become overripe, their sugar content skyrockets, sometimes more sugar in one cup than you'd find in a can of soda. For a younger person, that rush of sweetness might just be a tasty indulgence. But for seniors, it can be a silent threat to muscle health and mobility. I remember chatting with my neighbor, Helen, who's been a nutrition enthusiast her whole life. She told me about a study showing how high fructose fruits like overripe mangoes can accelerate a process called glycation, a chemical reaction where sugar molecules bind to proteins like collagen, making them stiff and brittle. Collagen is what gives our joints their strength and flexibility, so when it's damaged, it can lead to painful knees, stiff hips, and weakened connective tissues. Helen mentioned how many seniors suffer from this without realizing the role sugar plays in worsening joint health and muscle function. It made me think about how often I'd cut into a mango that was soft and syrupy, almost melting in my hands. The sweetness was irresistible, but I began to notice my legs felt heavier after eating them regularly. The stiffness that crept into my knees and the slower recovery after walks or gardening days were no longer just signs of aging. They were tied, at least in part, to what I was putting on my plate. Research supports this connection. Seniors who consume high amounts of fructose-heavy fruits, especially in their overripe form, face a significant decline in leg muscle density and walking speed. The sugar overload triggers inflammation and releases advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which inflame nerves and connective tissues around joints. This inflammation causes not just discomfort, but also reduces balance and increases the risk of falls, a major concern for those of us wanting to maintain independence. The problem worsens when mangoes get too soft and syrupy, turning from a healthful fruit into a sugar bomb. That's especially true if you enjoy canned mangoes or mango-flavored desserts, which often add even more sugar and preservatives. Eating overripe mangoes frequently becomes a recipe for muscle fatigue, tingling sensations in the legs, and slower recovery after any physical activity. So what's a mango lover to do? First, enjoy mangoes, but pick them at just the right time. A mango that's firm to the touch with a slight give is still sweet but hasn't yet loaded up on excess sugars. The firmer texture means less glycation and a slower sugar release. If you're buying fresh, try to consume mangoes before they turn too soft. And if you're craving that syrupy sweetness, consider pairing your mango slices with protein or healthy fats, like Greek yogurt or a handful of walnuts, to slow down sugar absorption and help protect your muscles. I also learned that variety matters. Instead of relying solely on mangoes, I started mixing in other fruits lower in sugar and higher in fiber, like berries or green apples, which have been shown to reduce inflammation and help maintain muscle health in older adults. These small swaps helped me keep my fruit intake enjoyable but much friendlier to my legs and joints. Looking back, I'm glad I discovered how overripe mangoes might be quietly working against me. It wasn't about giving up my favorite fruit, it was about being smarter with how I enjoyed it. My legs feel stronger, my recovery is quicker, and I move with more confidence, knowing I'm feeding my body what it truly needs. For anyone over 60 who loves mangoes as much as I do, here's my advice. Savor the flavor, but don't let that sweetness fool you. Eat mangoes before they get too soft, enjoy them alongside nutrient-rich foods, and listen to what your body tells you. Every choice we make can either help us stay steady on our feet or make the journey harder. At the end of the day, it's not about restrictions, it's about freedom. Freedom to walk, to dance, to chase grandkids, or simply enjoy a peaceful stroll. And with just a little awareness, your mango moments can be part of that freedom, not a threat to it. So slice up that golden fruit, relish the sunshine in every bite, and keep moving strong, one step at a time. 7. Bananas. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Bananas, soft, sweet, and often called the perfect snack, have been a staple in kitchens and lunchboxes for decades. Their creamy texture and natural sweetness make them an easy choice for breakfast, a quick energy boost, or a comforting treat. For many of us, bananas bring back memories of simple pleasures. Peeling one while on a walk, slicing them over cereal, or blending them into a smoothie. They seem so wholesome, so full of potassium and fiber. What could be wrong with a fruit so universally loved? Well, as with many things in life, especially as we age, there's more beneath the surface. For seniors over 60, bananas can sometimes be less of a friend and more of a subtle foe when it comes to leg strength and mobility. I've learned this through my own experiences and from talking with doctors, nutritionists, and friends who faced similar challenges. The first thing to understand is how bananas affect blood sugar. Despite their healthy reputation, ripe bananas have a high glycemic load. That means they can cause your blood sugar to spike almost as quickly as a soda. For younger people with resilient metabolisms, this isn't usually a problem. The body handles the sugar efficiently, providing steady energy. But as we age, our metabolism slows, and insulin resistance becomes more common. What that means is the sugar from bananas can flood your bloodstream faster than your muscles can use it, leading to spikes and crashes in energy. I remember one morning when I grabbed a ripe banana on my way out the door, thinking it was a great choice for a quick breakfast. But within an hour, I felt that familiar wave of fatigue creeping over me, and my legs seemed heavier, slower to respond. It was frustrating because I thought I was doing something good for my health. Later, after reading studies that showed older adults with higher dietary glycemic loads had lower quadricep strength and poorer balance, I began to connect the dots. Bananas also lack some of the critical nutrients seniors need to maintain muscle health, like essential amino acids and magnesium, which play key roles in muscle contraction and nerve function. Without those, your muscles and nerves might not work as smoothly as they should. On top of that, eating bananas daily can sometimes backfire if your kidneys aren't working perfectly, a condition that becomes more common as we age. Too much potassium from food sources like bananas can lead to muscle fatigue, cramping, and slowed movement. But don't worry, I'm not saying you have to give up bananas entirely. There are ways to enjoy them without putting your leg strength at risk. For example, choosing green or slightly underripe bananas instead of soft, spotted ones can make a big difference. These less ripe bananas contain more resistant starch, which doesn't spike your blood sugar as fast and acts more like fiber, slowing digestion. Pairing bananas with healthy fats, like peanut butter or a handful of walnuts, also helps blunt the glucose hit, providing a more sustained energy release. I found that making these small adjustments helped me enjoy my banana habit while feeling more balanced and steady on my feet. It's about listening to your body, watching how different foods make you feel, and choosing options that keep you strong and energized throughout the day. Like many seniors, I've had to rethink what healthy eating means for me now. It's not just about what's good on paper or popular advice. It's about what truly supports my body's changing needs. Bananas can be part of that, but with a little mindfulness. If you're used to grabbing a banana every morning or adding them to your cereal or smoothie, consider experimenting with the ripeness and pairing them with protein or fat. Notice how your legs and energy respond. And if you find you're feeling sluggish or your legs are tired more often, it might be time to cut back a bit or try alternatives like berries or apples that don't spike blood sugar as much. At the end of the day, it's all about balance and choice. Our bodies change as we age, but with the right knowledge and a few tweaks, we can keep moving well and enjoy the foods we love without compromise. So next time you peel a banana, savor the sweetness but also remember to take care of your legs. They're carrying you through every step of life's beautiful journey. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to take a moment to reflect on what you've learned. It's easy to think that all fruits are simply good for us. After all, they come from nature, full of vitamins and sweetness. But the truth is a little more complicated, especially as our bodies change with age. Some fruits, like the ones we've talked about today, can quietly chip away at the strength in your legs, your balance, and your independence. And that's something no one should have to accept without knowing. I want you to know that you're not alone in this. Many of us have walked this path, feeling the frustration of stiff knees or tired muscles, wondering why our bodies aren't quite the same. But here's the good news. There are simple, gentle changes you can make that don't mean giving up the joys of eating fruit or the pleasures of life. It's about choosing wisely, pairing foods thoughtfully, and listening closely to your body's signals. You deserve to live fully, with strength and confidence in every step you take. Remember, each choice you make today helps build the foundation for a healthier tomorrow. I encourage you to share your thoughts. What surprised you most? Which fruit will you think twice about before reaching for? Your story matters, and your journey inspires others. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this video helped you, please leave a comment below, like, share, and subscribe. Together, we can keep learning how to live better, stronger, and happier after 60. Here's to your health, your strength, and many joyful steps ahead.